Be demonstrating the Kitchener stitch. The Kitchener stitch is a way of grafting live stitches together. I use it whenever I close the toe of a cuff down sock. It also can be used for a shoulder seam. You can put your two needles together with wrong sides facing and you can have a nice seamless join for a shoulder. But here I have a small sock that I am going to demonstrate the Kitchener stitch. So I have my stitches all on two needles with the tips facing to the right. I have cut my yarn to be about 3 times the length of my finished seam, and I've threaded it onto a blunt tapestry needle. This tapestry needle will act like a knitting needle in that it's going to go into these stitches either purl ways or knit ways. To set up the Kitchener stitch, the first thing that we do is go into the front needle, the first stitch purl ways, pulling my yarn all the way through, making sure our yarn stays underneath the needles. Then I go to the back needle and I go into that first stitch as if to knit or knit ways, and making sure my yarn stays underneath. That seems to be about the trickiest part. And I give just a small tug. The trick to the Kitchener stitch is to maintain the same tension that you had on your knitting, and that can only be achieved with some practice. You'll get better as you go along. So now I've gone ahead and done my first stitch setup, and now I'm ready to repeat the same steps each time. I go into the front needle, the first stitch as if to knit, pulling my yarn through, and then I slip that stitch off. I give a little gentle tug. Then I go into the second stitch on the front needle as if to purl, pull my yarn through, and leave that stitch on. Now I go to the back needle. I go into the first stitch as if to purl, keeping my yarn underneath, and I remove that stitch, give a little tug, go into the second stitch as if to knit, and leave that one on. So that is what we repeat over and over again. On the front needle, go into the first stitch as if to knit, take it off, second stitch as if to purl, leave it on, back needle as if to purl and slip it off, back needle, the next stitch as if to knit, and leave it on. So it is always following just the same mantra: front needle, knit and take off, next stitch on the front needle, purl, my yarn out on the top, purl and leave on, back stitch, go through the first stitch as if to purl, slip it off, next stitch as if to knit and leave on. One more time. First stitch on the front as if to knit, slip it off, little tug, second stitch as if to purl and leave it on, and I move to the back needle, first stitch as if to purl and take it off, next stitch go in as if to knit and leave it on. Here I am at the end of the Kitchener row. I have 2 stitches remaining, 1 on each needle. So I'll finish off the grafting by going into the first, or the only stitch on the front needle as if to knit, and pull that one off. So I'm finished with that needle. Then I will come to the remaining stitch, which was on the back needle, go into that stitch as if to purl, and pull my needle out, and you can see that now I have a completely seamless, invisible seam. Great for socks, shoulders, anytime you want to join some live stitches. Happy knitting!